Do I need to get Heidi to tell you that you're allowed to talk when we go live?
There's always this awkward silence when Kevin goes live because we have to do a couple things after, and then everybody's just sitting there waiting.
Yeah, waiting.
I liked our immediate cold open from last week when Chris is just mowing down on a pierogi.
Yeah, adding food to the whole thing. Yeah. We should start with more food, though. We probably should be eating breakfast or something.
Breakfast, eating on camera may not be the best thing ever.
No. I was just gonna say breakfast. It's like 1:30 p.m. here.
Yeah,
fair.
That is breakfast in some people's minds, though.
Chris's specifically.
No, it's a Saturday. Do what you want.
Yeah.
Is it Saturday? I don't know anymore.
Yeah, it's pandemic day.
See, once you leave the Eastern time zone, that's the international date line. So,
yeah. All right, we're good.
I was trying to figure out if that was like a reference to something.
No, they were just talking about it's not really Saturday, and I'm like,
okay.
We are live. Oops.
Started off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and
I'm just trying to figure out what's in her mouth.
I just want to see him interview Francesco Accoli.
No, he's a good human being, is what he would say about himself. I'm sure.
Who's hosting this thing?
Take charge, Kevin. Would you? Jesus.
First time we ever met those guys. That was the major drunken pub argument.
I think you guys are the worst.
I'm gonna have to probably watch some Canucks hockey, unfortunately.
Just making friends left, right, and center, and probably some enemies as well.
Tell him to shut up. He needs to hear that every once in a while.
Off to a good start.
All right. We are live.
It's okay to talk when it goes live.
It sure is. It is okay to talk when we go live. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. I'm Kevin Olenek. You can follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. Facebook Live, facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast. We're also live on YouTube, youtube.com, the Hockey Podcast. Give us a slap that subscribe button. Right? That was double innuendo if I have ever done double innuendo. Give us a like on Facebook and subscribe on wherever you get your podcasts, as the podcast version of this will be out shortly after this. And we did a season preview. We've chatted about the Canucks, obviously. We chatted about the Flames, we chatted about the Oilers, we chatted about the Senators, chatted about the Leafs. There was one team that we did not get to, and it was the Winnipeg Jets, who are playing the Vancouver Canucks tonight at an ungodly hour in Winnipeg at 9 o'clock local time. We've ranted on that for whatever. Good for us Vancouverites, I guess. But Connor and Brendan Farrell from the Grit 60 podcast is here. What is going on? How are things? How are you doing?
I feel like we're kind of in a holding pattern until Pierre-Luc Dubois gets out of quarantine, but
Jets holding pattern? No? Yeah, okay. I thought that was planned.
Yeah, but Winnipeg doesn't have an airport, so it doesn't really
Yes, Port Winnipeg. Get an airport, Winnipeg. Yeah.
Yeah, the team called the Jets. Yeah, that city doesn't have an airport. No, not at
all. Yeah, I guess let's start right there. The big trade, that three-way trade between Anaheim, Ottawa, and San Jose. Those three. No, wait, that's not the trade that we're talking about, right? We're talking about.
We have a resident Sharks fan. I was really confused. Are they just throwing around prospects? Does it matter?
They were throwing around like quadruple A guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
we can move on then.
Quality people.
Top hit.
Yeah, I saw San Jose made a trade with Ottawa, and I was like, oh, not again. No.
But Pierre-Luc Dubois traded from Columbus to Winnipeg for Patrick and a third-round pick. Devin will remind us that the third-round pick is important for Patrick Laine and Jack Roslovic. By the way, hello, Sean and Devin. I didn't even say hello. What a jackass I am.
Well, at least you're the one calling yourself that and not me this time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Are you doing okay?
Oh, yeah. I do not know what to expect tonight. The Canucks are absolutely horrible against the Jets, so it's going to be. I have no idea what to expect.
It's 10 in a row for Winnipeg, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. This is fascinating from that perspective too. But let's start with the trade. How do you feel about it? The Jets getting Dubois, the Jets losing Laine, a top end scorer in the league, but sometimes an enigma, and losing a guy that I think a lot of people see as a fairly high end prospect in Jack Roslovic.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think this. I mean, as far as when the Laine trades rumors start, Brennan and I have discussed Laine trades ad nauseum for the past 6 months or so.
Just a few times, here and there.
And we always came back around to this conclusion that there isn't really a good trade partner out there because you need something that's got the same value on ice and market value as well. But I guess as far as that's concerned, this was probably best case scenario for the Jets. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would think so. Yes, like losing Laine isn't fun. Like I said this on our pod, but Patrick Laine is a significantly more fun player than Pierre-Luc Dubois is. But I think PLD is a better player, if that makes sense. So I know that people are heartbroken over Laine leaving, but Pierre-Luc Dubois is really darn good. And this is a Winnipeg team that has been basically spent like the last 3 years or so looking for their second line center. And they might have one for this year with Paul Stastny, but for the future, I mean, it's PLD. And PLD and Schiefle down the middle is ridiculous.
I mean, as long as you can agree, or as long as you can get PLD to agree to stay there long term.
Yeah.
That'd be the thing.
But I mean, that's a whole other aspect of the deal for both teams.
Yeah.
Do you think that he will? His dad is with the Manitoba Moose. Mm-hmm. He did show a desire to play in a hockey market. It was his words. That was one of the reports out there. Do you see him kind of looking long term and saying maybe Winnipeg is the place? I mean, it's very rare that people on Earth say, I want to live in Winnipeg for the rest of my life. But maybe Is there an opportunity that Pierre could say that?
I think so. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to predict. I mean, I don't know the guy personally.
Right. And I guess I don't have like the inside track. So I would say my guess is probably as good as yours, or yours is as good as mine, whatever. I mean, and I think a lot of it depends on how they do. A guy like PLD probably wants to be competitive. And I don't know if, the Jets are set up to be competitive immediately in the short term or, outside of this Canadian division, if they go back to the Central division next year. Can this team have some sustained success? Does he want to go to a team that's going to be cup contenders in the near future, right? I guess that's all things to – and it's not, Winnipeg isn't the biggest city. It's not, we could end up in this situation like Panarin want to go play in New York. Could happen. But that is an interesting point with his dad being in the organization that I think does help. But it would all depend on how, if there was disagreements between Laine and his current teammates, if he can find a role or a way to, I guess, find his place among those teammates, that would be helpful as well. But I don't know. I don't have sources in there saying, hey, this is how he feels about Winnipeg, or hey, this is how he feels about his teammates.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll come down to how competitive they are. They've had a good start to the season. I think coming in, my biggest question was the blue line. If they can fill that out, if Ville Heinola can step in and start developing as a top four D-man, that'll help a lot. But if Winnipeg's competitive are make the playoffs this year and make the playoffs next year, and they're winning a round or two, I think, and show develop growth, I don't see why he wouldn't want to. stay. I think it's it's a hockey market. It's not a big market, but it's still a hockey market. It's still a hockey mad market. So he's going to be the big man on campus. It's not like he's in Columbus where, Columbus is an underrated hockey market, but you're still number 2 to the football, to the Ohio State football team.
Yeah.
And let alone any other professional sports down in that area. So I think it's set up for him to stay long term, but they have to be competitive. They're not competitive. If they fall off and aren't competitive over the next 2 years, then I could see them having to him putting another request in and them having to move him again.
Devin?
Yeah, I'm curious about Jack Roslovic. What type of player is he? There's a lot of people out there who don't know who this player is because everybody thinks it's a one-on-one trade. But there are 2 other parts to that with the 3rd round pick and Jack Roslovic, and he is going home to Columbus. That's why he's able to jump on with the team so quickly. And I'm just curious on what your guys' thoughts of him are.
When we covered the Jets, I was always really high on Jack Roslovic. He kind of gets, because Winnipeg had last season, Winnipeg had so many wingers. He got kind of buried in the lineup at like the 3rd line or so. But I feel like if you need to move him up in the lineup, you could. The big thing with him was I could see bursts of, that's really cool and neat what he just did there. But could he do it consistently over the course of the season? I guess would be what is missing from his game, is a little bit of that consistency. I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little lower, I think, on Roslovic. I mean, I think it's weird to me that he entered the season without a contract, and the Jets were just like, I think that's fine. I mean, that kind of tells me everything. I mean, we saw teams throughout the offseason, moving money and doing whatever it took to, re-sign people, and the Jets just kind of didn't do anything with Roslovic. Maybe it was because they knew that he wasn't happy there, or it just didn't really fit into their plans long term. But I don't know. I think that whole thing is a little weird.
In your opinion, is he a better winger than a center? Because the way I look at it is, if he's a winger, then you traded away. Columbus traded away a top line caliber center for 2 wingers. And if he's a center,
favored on the right side. Yeah,
and then because it looks like Columbus has him lined up as a center with Boone Jenner and Cam Atkinson. So they're giving him a shot with a couple of really good players that can produce offense.
So my understanding is that he could play either center or wing, but if he was a good center, then he certainly didn't prove it to the Jets coaching staff last season, because they had a role. They needed a second line center pretty much the entire season. And I think he played there sparingly, but he didn't really have he was really a winger for them. Maybe that's just what the coaching staff is seeing, but if he can play center, he certainly didn't prove it to Paul Maurice and his.
Yeah, they were much more willing to take Blake Wheeler from the wing and put him back at center than they were to put Roslovic or even like Andrew Pop.
And I guess to that point, Wheeler I think did reasonably well as a second line center.
I mean,
I know I'd rather have him play wing, but
to be honest, I don't think anyone did well for the Jets last year, other than our boy Nikolai Ehlers. But that's just because Nikolai Ehlers can do nothing wrong.
Yeah,
he's our precious Danish boy, and he's perfect.
Just the other thing, the other big thing, and then we'll dig into the Jets a little bit more specifically. What is your thoughts on this Laine Torts relationship? How they're not going to get along? I mean, I know you don't have the inside knowledge of that, but is there something to that, or is this getting a little bit overblown?
I think. Well, I don't know if it's getting overblown, but definitely getting ahead of ourselves. Right? I think it's either going to work well, because there are some players that really like playing for Tortorella, and there's some players that really do not like playing for Tortorella. And if Laine finds out that he does not like playing for Tortorella, we'll find that out pretty soon, I think. But
I would have to imagine they cleared it with Tortorella before they went out and
probably
got Laine. I don't think any GM goes, "Hey, I acquired this guy. Hope you can make it work." So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens after this sort of honeymoon period. Give it, I don't know, 10, 15 games, and then we'll see how it goes from there, certainly.
And then I would almost say check back again at the end of the season because, I mean, you could –
well,
some of these coaches, right, you can only hear the same messages so many times.
Yeah.
And I think
Well, both their contracts are done at the end of the season, both Laine and Torts. Laine and Torts both are due new contracts at the end of this year. Yeah, Dubois got one more year in Winnipeg after that, but I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on. You're right in terms of Torts being a love him or hate him type coach. If Laine had issues with the our way or the highway situation, that's how I take the stories from about Schiefle and Wheeler is it's our way or the highway. You come in and you live and breathe hockey because that's what those two do. That's all they are hockey nuts. They are rink rats. And if you don't do that, then they're not necessarily going to like that. And I think Torts is very much the same way in terms of it's my way or the highway. And if Laine buys in, then Torts will love him.
Yeah.
And Laine will get all the playing time because we all know Torts loves playing the legs off his stars.
That was the thing for me was that Laine only played about 2 games for the Jets this year, but I mean he was really engaged. He bought in to me, but
I find it hard to buy into whatever Paul Maurice is selling personally, but.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame anyone for not buying into Paul Maurice. So,
we'll get. Just the one thing about Torts that I heard from Peter Klein on 960 in Calgary talked about this is because he worked with Torts at the 3-letter network in Toronto, TSN, and he said it wasn't so much like if you make a mistake, it's fine. It's if you keep making the same mistake over and over again, that's where you lose Torts. That was his perspective of working with him. It's doing the same thing over and over again that is a mistake. So that could be it. So you are not high. This is kind of fascinating that you guys mentioned that about Paul Maurice because I think Sean, Devin, and I, again, I mean, I don't want to speak for Sean and Devin, but we were a little higher. I am a little higher on Paul Maurice than that. But what are we missing from there? What are you seeing from Paul Maurice that maybe us from the outside are not noticing?
Well, I think the big thing is that people want to play the kids a little more, especially on defense. Granted, hockey fans always want to play the kids more, right? But it's just tough to,
particularly on a team that didn't look that competitive last year, and you've got these prospects that you're like, we want to see what they've got, and Paul Maurice just doesn't let them. Like someone mentioned Heinola earlier. Heinola is someone that I've kind of attached my personal brand to. Hanel's going to come in and break out and whatever, but he can't have that if he's played, one game?
Yeah.
Played one game and had one of the lowest 5-on-5 time on ice on the team.
Somehow, Logan Stanley came out of nowhere and claimed, the third left-handed defenseman spot. And it's just, I mean, Logan Stanley's been fine. He's been perfectly fine. But he's the third man on the Winnipeg Jets left-handed defensive prospect tier. So poor Dylan Sandberg still hasn't played.
Yeah. And it seems clear to, I think, a lot of fans that the only way Heinola is going to get playing time is if someone on the defense is hurt.
Yeah.
At least until the AHL starts up or whatever.
Well, it's just tough because, it's going to be even worse when Tucker Pullman comes back. And so that's another defenseman spot. Granted, he plays on the right. But, I mean, people look at it and they're like, I would rather watch Heinola and Sandberg and or Stanley on the left compared to, Derek Forbort on the left or Nathan Beaulieu on the right. So I think that's the big one.
I think the other thing too is sort of the style that they played. I'm not sure all of the X's and O's. I'm not super knowledgeable on all that, but there was something about the style that they played last season that didn't get a whole lot of chances to the front of the net on the other team. They did a lot of point shots and things, which we make fun of on our podcast
Yeah,
all the time.
the Jets, even now, they still have a bunch of defensemen who aren't necessarily offensively gifted. And especially last year, it was just like, hey, let's bomb one from the point over and over again. It's like, that's Lucas Spiza taking the shot. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
The pizza delivery man.
Yeah, I
Speeds of the pizza.
yeah, it's a little rough on that end, but I mean, the Jets are a much better team than they were last year, so it's hard to be like too upset. But I kind of get it, especially since Paul Maurice is like somehow one of the NHL's most tenured coaches for some reason. I don't know.
I feel like NHL coaches have short shelf life.
Yeah, but Paul Maurice
more so than
made the
in other
playoffs.
sports.
Twice? I guess twice, and he made it to the play-in round last year.
But how much of that is Torts, and how much of that is Kevin Cheveldayoff?
You mean Paul Maurice, and how much of it's Kevin Cheveldayoff?
Yeah, you got it.
Like that's fair enough, but it's also just weird that one of the NHL's longest tenured coaches has only made the actual playoffs twice.
Fair.
That's very
That's
interesting.
a totally fair point. That's a really good point. To me, I look at the Jets with a lot of top end, high end talent, like Schiefle, Wheeler. I look as top end. Ehlers, like you, I don't think you can do a lot wrong. Kyle Connor, I think, is as outstanding as a forward. Paul Stastny is pretty serviceable, and then you had Laine, and then defensively, Josh Morrissey, Neil Pionk, I think are a solid pair of defensemen. Dylan DeMello is one of those guys. It's a solid pair, and you have one of the better goaltenders. You have a Vezina-nominated goaltender, Connor Hellebuck, which I think
Vezina winning goaltender.
Yeah, Vezina winning goaltender, right? And Connor Hellebuck, I think you see all this. For me, this top end talent, and I'm like, I see a lot of good things in Winnipeg, but then you remind me that this is a team that's not gotten a lot of playoff success. And, I guess from the Winnipeg perspective, you could argue if you had a healthy Mark Schiefle in that play-in series with the Flames, you could have won, but you didn't. I don't know.
Well, I think they're just it helps that their defense is nowhere near as catastrophically bad as they were last year. I mean, like they were just pulling random guys off waivers, and
like we said earlier, Lucas Spiza was a regular on this team last year.
Yeah, they were basically playing like quadruple A guys on like their second pairing, and they had like a billion injuries, and it was just some really rough hockey. But I think especially I thought coming into the season, I thought an underrated addition just league wide and nobody was really talking about was the Jets adding Paul Stastny. I mean, this team, they spent 2 first-round picks looking for a second-line center. I mean, including one on Paul Stastny, and they tried like hell to keep him after 2018, and he just went off to Vegas. But with Paul Stastny, I mean, that second line has maybe been their best line so far.
I mean, we look a lot at some of the more advanced metrics to back up what we're seeing on the ice, and the Stastny-Ehlers line is maybe their best statistical line as far as expected goals and chance creation and all that.
Granted, they're putting Stastny with Nikolai Ehlers, who's probably their best play driver. My hot take is that he's their best forward. And then you pair him with Andrew Koch, who has destroyed bottom 6 minutes throughout his entire time in Winnipeg. So it doesn't really surprise me that second line is doing well. But they actually needed like an actual pivot,
Yeah.
So,
Devin?
Since you guys were... Thank you. A little sauce over to me. Since you guys were talking about the defense there, a lot of analysts and a lot of people have been kind of down on your top 4 or your top 6 there. I personally, I love it. I think that Forbort is a solid defenseman. DeMello, I love DeMello. I thought he was a great trade for you guys last year at the trade deadline. What are your thoughts on them as of right now? And I guess a side note to that as well, taking Neil Pionk off that first power play and putting Josh Morrissey there instead. What are you guys' thoughts?
I don't know too much about the power play stuff, but I can definitely speak to having that as a top 4. I think Morrissey being your best defenseman and pairing him with DeMello, that is a good pairing. I don't know if I'd want that to be my top pairing is the thing, because I don't know if those guys are like guys you want to play 22 minutes, 20, or I forget how much defensemen play now, 25.
We'll go 25.
25 minutes a night. I think that would be a very good second pairing. If you are a team that wants to be competitive in the NHL to win a cup soon, that I think is a very good second pairing. I don't think that would be a good first pairing for a team like that. Neil Pionk, I think, has some good skill offensively, kind of lacking defensively. Derek Forbort, I haven't seen a whole lot of, but he's getting points. So that's, I guess, a plus. At the beginning of the season, Derek Forbort, I think, was one that I would argue should not be playing, or I would put Heinola ahead of, at least just to see if he sticks. But as long as Derek Forbort's getting points, he's not coming out of that lineup, I don't think.
Well, yeah, that was. I mean, going back to the whole like young defenseman thing, like that was one of the things I was at least thinking of, was that, you know, I figured that they would still be bad on defense this year, but we would at least get the opportunity to see the kids play. That still hasn't really happened.
No.
But I mean, Morrissey's fine. Neil Pionk is kind of a disaster at 5-on-5, but he's also like a god on the power play. So I don't know. And Dylan DeMello, I mean, he's been a good acquisition. I have liked him a lot. Morrissey's done a lot better with DeMello than he has with Pullman. They stuck Pullman with him last year, and that was just not good.
Like, I think Morrissey is a good defenseman. I don't know if I want him playing against the other team's best forwards.
And that's fair.
And that is kind of as the role that has been thrust upon him.
You know what they say when you have 3 shutdown pairings, right?
No.
You don't have a shutdown pairing.
It's like the quarterback. If you don't have if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one.
Yeah, as a Washington football team fan, when you have 4 quarterbacks, that means you really don't have any.
Sean?
I think I was that was always my question going into this year was the blue line, how much Hellebuck's going to be able to bail them out, how many games Hellebuck's going to play, because
all of them.
Laurent Brossoit, solid traditional backup.
Brendan doesn't like him. I think he's okay.
He's a solid traditional backup, but that's not where this game's going, especially in a season like this where you kind of need a backup who can take games and you can rely on and not just hope. And I think that's just the way I look at Brossoit. It's like you just hope that he can get through the game and maybe you can win. That's where I think that's where my issue is how many games Hellebuck's going to play, and if they do get into the playoffs, is that going to be a detriment to them going anywhere? And then, as you said, the blue line. I think they really do need to start playing Ville Heinola, because when you look at that blue line, Pionk's really good on the power play. He hits everything that moves, but he's a bit of a wild card on 5-on-5, as you said. Morrissey, I really like Morrissey. I think he's someone that does everything, does all the small things right. He's not someone who's going to just wow you, though, and they need to build someone up to be able to do that a little bit more 5-on-5 and drive the play from the blue line 5-on-5, and maybe Heinola can do that.
And just to add to that too, especially in this division, I mean, like you look at where this division is, you got Vancouver has prospects coming up. You got Calgary with Connor Mackey coming up. You've got Ottawa with Jake Sanderson coming up. You've got Toronto with Rasmus Sandin in the back end. You've got Edmonton with Evan Bouchard. Winnipeg's definitely going to need that young, dynamic defenseman in order to be competitive in this division.
Now they can just double down with another forward and bring in Cole Perfetti. So
very true.
Perfetti, he's Perfetti.
I've been
if you just overload the other team with amazing forwards, then you don't have to worry about them scoring, because you'll just have the puck the entire time.
Yeah, you can run the Toronto strategy on Toronto, and hopefully it'll work.
Out Toronto.
That was a shot at you, Devin.
I know. I love it. I'm getting it from more so from the guys on the pod, but I'm happy that you guys are following suit. You're fitting right in.
I have a Devin. Before you jump in, I have a fun.
To designate half of our salary cap to like 4 players, but we'll see.
Yeah. I have a fun fact for you. Who has the better save percentage in Winnipeg right now? Connor Hellebuck or Laurent Brossoit?
I mean, I'm guessing the reason you're asking me this is because the answer is Brossoit, probably because he's also played about 5 minutes this year.
No, he's played 2 games. He's won 1. He lost 1. That loss was the last second goal by Leon Draisaitl. But from what I saw last weekend when Winnipeg played Ottawa, I did not think Hellebuck was good. Actually, I thought, and Brossoit played pretty well against Edmonton. I'm not saying that Brossoit is a great goaltender, but if you can get any win with Laurent Brossoit, is that phrase found money?
Yeah. I mean, Hellebuck hasn't been Hellebuck yet, but I think we all kind of saw maybe at least a little bit of regression coming because he played like a god last year in front of a horrible, horrible defense.
And then in the play-in rounds, he wasn't great.
Yeah,
he wasn't bad.
It's also only been 7 games for the Jets this year, and then they played 4 games in the bubble.
Yeah.
Call me back in a couple months, and we'll talk about it.
Fair. That's just something to bring up. Devin, I throw.
You only have so many games this season. It's got to happen.
Yeah, but there's still a while to go.
The one thing I'll say about this season is we're going to see wild swings in the standings because of the way the schedule is. Whoever gets to play Ottawa is going to get. You have to make sure you win those games and get at least 2/3 of the points out of those games going, and hopefully do what the Canucks did and just get 6 out of 6 because Ottawa's going to win some games. They're a pesky team, but you got to find a way to get them. And if you can go in and get even sweep a series against any of the teams, that's going to just launch you up the standings.
I mean, this division is a mess, but it's also kind of a beautiful mess, so it kind of works out.
Yeah,
it's an exciting mess.
It's like that chaos that we've all been.
I mean, that's what we were talking about in our pod when we were doing our sort of season preview. Was we were looking at this division, and it was just we think we can put Toronto at 1 and Ottawa at 7, but between there, I don't know.
Yeah. Devin, I feel like you were going to say something.
We're all over the place here, but I've
love it. Chaos within chaos.
Pionk, that's why I brought him up. Is that he is a wizard on the power play, and I'm very curious about why he's not on that first power play. Why they have Josh Morrissey there instead of him right now? It baffles me because he was on the second power play unit in New York before he got traded here, and then he was on the first power play unit last year with you guys, but now he's on the second. So maybe he's falling out of grace with Paul Maurice. Who knows, right?
Not really sure.
Yeah. I just want to get my 2 cents on that one. But where could you possibly see Paul Stastny move to the wing when Pierre-Luc Dubois comes in, or would you rather see him go down the lineup? Take Adam Lowry's spot, and then Lowry will go down to the 4th line.
I mean, that's a nice problem to have, isn't it?
Right?
I mean, that's what I was wondering. Is I have no idea what they're going to do, right? Because Schiefle, Dubois, and Stastny down the middle is just nasty. But you still have a hole at wing because you traded 2 wingers. So I don't know if I would want Stastny on the wing. I mean, I guess it could work. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, I feel like his age would make him work better as a center for some reason. I don't know.
And I would throw this out there. Kopp and Lowry have played well together in the past. So if you can get some chemistry between Stastny, Ehlers, and Dubois for that second line and put Kopp and Lowry together with, I don't know, I guess Perreault or Mason Appleton or whoever, that's a pretty good forward crew.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a good problem to have when it comes to how do we make this work.
But I guess I would also be open to putting Paul Stastny on that third line because he is older, and if you can restrict his minutes a bit,
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay.
Put Cole Perfetti on one of the wings.
Ooh.
With I don't know.
Yeah, but Paul Maurice won't do that.
No, he won't. But
that'd be a great line, having Pierre-Luc Dubois, Cole Perfetti, and Ehlers. That'd be a scary, scary
like-
line.
That would be scary. That would be
Right?
if you're going, hey, we've got a hole in our top six, because we want to, we can just, if we roll Schiefle, Dubois, and Stastny down the middle,
Right.
you're like, well, hey, take the talented rookie and just staple him to one of the really good veterans that you have down the middle, and just go to the net. Keep your stick on the ice.
Very true. And the only thing that I would be weary of is limiting Adam Lowry's minutes if he does put him down, because he's played so well for the Jets lately. And a side note to Cole Perfetti with Pierre-Luc Dubois, you got to make sure Dubois' head is on straight. You got to make sure that he's willing and wanting to win, and he'll actually play for you. Because if you put Perfetti with him and he's not willing to work, then you could be stunting Perfetti's growth as an NHLer.
Yeah, I think things are going to be fine with Dubois. I really don't.
At least in the short. You get first.
I really like what Adam Lowry brings to the table. I'm thinking a guy with that size you want up the middle. I don't think you want to move him to the wing in any way, shape, or form. Like a Schiefle, Dubois, Lowry center three that's a massive advantage that Winnipeg can have over anyone else, I think. And you're right, Devin, in the sense that we need to see where Dubois is at, but you look at that, if you go the pairings route, Schiefle, Wheeler, Dubois, Ehlers, some way that you can put Kopp and Lowry together, that's three pairs that you've got that you can match up against anybody.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I imagine that Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to be the second line center, or I guess the 1B center of the future for Winnipeg, but with Stastny there, he doesn't have to be this year. They can do whatever the heck they want with that lineup.
Yeah. That and Adam Lowry has the best Twitter handle as any hockey player. A lousy player 17.
Yeah.
Like, that is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I also like Jake Gensel's, which is like Jake and Bake, I think.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Adam Gaudette is Hockey God, which is hilarious because it's Gaud.
What is Blake Wheeler's?
Oh, Big Funky or
Big Funky, yeah.
There's some good ones, like even Matthew Tkachuk, was it is Chuck E. Cheese or something
Chuck
like that?
E. Cheese,
Yeah. They're starting to show their personality with those, and I really like that.
Yeah. So where do you have the Jets in this chaos? You've acknowledged, I think we all had Toronto in first. We all had Ottawa on the bottom, I think. Yes. And we all, I think, had Winnipeg in a different place. I'm curious where you have Winnipeg.
I think when we did our preview, I think I had Winnipeg in that fourth playoff spot. Oh, Brennan's going to...
Well, I saved my predictions. I didn't save yours.
Okay, well. Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, I've got mine somewhere. But I think I was optimistic about them.
I was not.
So where did you have them?
I had Winnipeg in fifth. I was like, I think they'll be better, but I'm not confident enough to actually put them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I had them fourth. Yeah, I had them fourth in that final playoff spot. Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, Winnipeg.
I had Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Calgary.
So, wait a minute. They had Montreal second, and we were like, no, not happening. I had Montreal sixth.
They played well.
Yeah, I mean, they have played well. It's just a tough prediction to do.
It is a fool's errand, but a fun one nonetheless.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I had Winnipeg in sixth. I had Montreal in fifth. It was, it looks like anyone who doubted Montreal is wrong, at least at this point.
Yeah, at the start of the season, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of hockey left here.
Which is weird because it just seems like everyone in Toronto just thinks that the Maple Leafs still suck or something. I don't know.
We've just been burned too many times.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, I think the way to beat Toronto is just change your jersey to a Boston Bruins jersey, and I think you've got a chance. just
start burning jerseys. Great.
Yeah. We're the Boston Bruins. I guess, the final one for me is, what is one player that, I think kind of dig into this, but what's one player that does not get the recognition in Winnipeg that the NHL should know about?
Nikolai Ehlers.
I don't. Is that true anymore? 'Cause he's starting to get attention this year.
Yeah, but you know what? He's still playing on their second line.
Right. But that's not the media. That's Paul Maurice.
But like, if you ask people, hey, who is Winnipeg's best player? You know what they're going to say? They're going to say like Mark Schiefle or Kyle Connor. Right. Nikolai Ehlers. Right. People will look at the Jets lineup, sort by points, and go, well, Nikolai Ehlers isn't one of the top two, therefore, right? But I think,
I think I would agree with you. But now that Laine is gone, Laine is gone, I think Ehlers is starting to get more attention because he's really good.
Yeah, fair enough. But I still feel like people don't see Ehlers as their best player, and he is. I think if you look at like 5-on-5 or even strength points per 60, like Nikolai Ehlers is their best player.
Okay.
And
I was going to go with Andrew Kopp.
Andrew Kopp's very good.
Andrew Kopp is a very good two-way forward.
He's a very good middle six guy.
Yeah. You can kind of move him up and down. Probably don't want him on your top line, but he can move between second and third line. And he stepped up well now that they needed another second line forward with the absence of Laine.
I would say Paul Stastny's probably up there too.
Yeah, but he's only been there. He's only been there a few games.
Yeah, but still, he's done well, and I'm happy about it.
I feel like Kyle Connor doesn't get enough credit, even though everybody knows him as a goal scorer, but he just gets lost in the shuffle there, like you guys were talking about. I think we brought up his name once because we're going down the lineup. We did not talk about him at all until now. So for me, it's Kyle Connor.
I almost wonder if we just expect him to score at this point, and that's why we don't talk about it. But I don't know.
The quiet 30-goal scorer.
Seriously, God.
Yeah, about as quiet as you can get. Yeah,
I remember having the debate when they on their rookie years between Connor and Boeser, and I was like, it's close, but I was still on the Boeser side, but like Connor's just blown Boeser away. He is the better winger at this point. He consistently he's got 3 30-goal seasons under his belt, and there was a chance he was going to hit 40 last year. He had 38 and 71. Like, I don't know. I think I'm with Devin in terms of Kyle Connor, because I just don't think if Kyle Connor was on Toronto or on Vancouver or hell even on Edmonton or Calgary or what, like other than Winnipeg and Ottawa, if he was on any other team in this division, he'd be getting just the amount of publicity he'd be getting would be just skyrocketed compared to what he's getting right now in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's just one of those guys. He just quietly produces. He quietly plays his game. Fits well with Schiefle and Wheeler and just does his thing. He would be a winger I think any team would love to have, for sure. Is there anything we haven't covered about the Jets yet, or?
I think that pretty much covers it.
Sean, Devin, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I said I think it's going to come down to can Hellebuyck come anywhere close to the level he played last year, and if that blue line can improve, because especially with the addition with Dubois once he gets in, after the Jets are not on their holding pattern, we're going to see probably arguably the best top 6 in the division. Yeah, I thought it was arguable when at the beginning of the season. Devin yelled at me when I made that hot take, but I think even now I think it is, because you have a legit top line. I think there's two teams in this division that have a legit top line, like a full one, like left wing, first line left wing, first line center, first line right wing, and that's the Jets and the Canucks. Everyone else has. Dev, hold on. I can see your face.
Yeah,
you look at everyone else, and they're plugging in.
Listen, he goes sip.
One team.
They're plugging and playing. They've got pairs. They've got top end pairs. Toronto has two sort of top line caliber pairs that they're playing together, and then they're sliding in what would be second and third line.
I'm gonna screenshot Devin's face here while you're at this.
Second and third line players in that and making it work. That's where I'm at.
Are you saying that Joe Thornton isn't a top line winger at this point in his career? Is that what you're saying?
Not anymore. This isn't 2013 anymore.
I don't think he even ever played winger, like ever.
I'm going to defend Devin on one thing that I don't think that people are going to pay enough attention to. I think by the end of the year, we are going to be talking about Ilya Mikheyev as a legitimate top 6 forward in this league.
Well, but that's top 6.
Let me talk, for the love of God.
Oh, sorry, Devin. I was trying to help you.
You're bashing my team right now, and I'm just sitting back here.
I'm not bashing your team.
You are bashing. Oh my God! You're not giving them enough credit. Once again, Sean not giving enough credit to Stumpin.
Okay, can I just? Can you let me just explain it a little bit better?
Shut up!
No.
God.
Okay.
Sorry.
You haven't figured this out. We're brothers.
Okay, so Mikheyev, if he didn't get hurt last year, he would have been a legitimate top player or a top 2. You've been solidified on that second line. Yes, he had a bit of a dip before he got injured, but come on, man. You have Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander. Like, you talk about pairs. Whoa, who else? So I understand where you're coming from, but I completely disagree that that you don't have them as 1 or 2 in this North Division. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, no. Let me. I'm saying that in terms of a top line, Vancouver and Winnipeg have a top line that has 3 bona fide top line players. Does Toronto? No, they've got 2 lines that have bona fide top line players, duos, and then second, third line players rotating in and making it work.
Second and third line players?
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, it works.
I mean, I thought the rip on Toronto is that their top 6 is loaded and their bottom 6 is just bad. So
I like
agree.
the third line on Toronto.
I agree that if I'm taking the best top 6s in the division, I'm probably going Toronto and Winnipeg, personally.
That's what I have. I have them, and I think it's arguable that Winnipeg.
That's not
is
what
over.
you just said, though.
Yeah, that's not what you said at all.
No. What I said in terms of top line, top 3. Your top line player, Canucks have Miller, Pettersson, Besser. Winnipeg has Wheeler, Schiefle, and Connor. Right? Those are three first line caliber players on a line. No other team has that. What other teams have, and it works, and that's how things are going with the NHL, is you have duos. Toronto has Matthews and
Marner and Nylander, who are all
and Tavares, but they're on different lines.
They're on different lines. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but you could put them all together.
You could, but they don't. They're not doing that right now.
Because they got to spread it out.
Yeah, and that's again. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like currently, with the lines that they have set up, the way the Winnipeg set up and the way the Canucks are set up, they have a top line that has 3 legit top line players, while the other teams have gone with duos instead. And there's not both have merits and both have pros and both have cons in terms of it. The top, and when you add Dubois into it, when you've got that 1-2 punch up the middle with Winnipeg, I think you can make an argument with Ehlers on one with Dubois was what I'm expecting to see. Like, if Ehlers, as you guys are saying, is their best player, and you're adding Dubois to that mix, and then you still have that top line with Connor and Wheeler and Schiefle, I I think you can make an argument that they are the best top 6 in this division.
That's something we can kind of agree on.
I would still take Toronto, but we can talk about that another time.
In terms of the two centermen, Schiefle, Dubois, take the wingers out of this just for a moment. Where do you rank the Schiefle, Dubois center pair in the North?
Second behind Tavares and Matthews.
Ahead of McDavid and Draisaitl.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's probably a good point. Maybe.
Who's in Montreal? Too?
I just forget about Draisaitl as a center.
Montreal has Danault and Suzuki.
Yeah, I'm taking Schiefle.
Yeah, I think I take Schiefle and Dubois there.
But I will say that between Dubois and Schiefle probably play more defense than McDavid and Draisaitl do, which really isn't saying anything, but
it says a lot. It says a lot because you have top end talent, and then you have the 200-foot player, or as Berkey's been saying, a 3-zone player. He doesn't like the 200-foot player anymore. The 3-zone player.
No, I mean I wouldn't say either Schiefle or Dubois are two-way centers, but I mean at least Dubois isn't as catastrophically bad defensively as McDavid and Draisaitl are. Like that's rough when it comes to them playing defense, but they basically never have to. But
yeah.
I would put them. To me. It's hard to put. It's Matthews. It's Matthews, Tavares, McDavid, Draisaitl are probably. I think top 2. I think the debate would be Schiefle, Dubois, Petey, Horvat. I think that would be where I would be debating 3-4. I think, I do think I also think Nick Suzuki is a guy that I also think we're going to be talking about him in a higher level very soon as well. He's got some high end. That guy has some high end skill for sure. But right now, Schiefle, I would debate Schiefle, Dubois versus Petey, Horvat as 3-4. That would be, in my opinion.
I saw a bit of a sly look at it from you there, Brendan, in terms of like, are you serious or?
Yeah, it's whatever. It's fine.
Well, Bo Horvat comes up with clutch goals. Bo Horvat plays against the other team's top center. He and Petey, I know that he's gotten off to a bad start this year, but there's no disputing this guy's talent, none at all. Like once he gets into a rhythm, just watch out.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's fair.
I would just throw out that we've seen what the Jets are without Schiefle in that play-in series, and it was not good.
It's one of the most boring offensive performances I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Before we go, what are your guys' thoughts on Tkachuk? Do you like him, dislike him?
Yeah, that was a good question, actually.
I mean, I respect his ability to get under the skin of 30 other NHL teams. Probably 31. Seattle probably already hates him, despite the fact there are no players there.
I mean, as a Flyers fan, I'm not that impressed.
I mean, the problem is that he's a good player who just plays like a piece of shit. It's sorry, but it's one of those things. It's like you don't have to do this. It's like when Marchand does something dumb, and it's like you're better than that. You don't have to do that.
So then, do you think it was on purpose what he did to Shifley?
Not really.
No, I don't think so, but it's still
reckless,
frustrating.
maybe, but
yeah, it's just I don't know. I guess it's made more aggravating when someone like Tkachuk does it, as opposed to who's the guy in Vancouver I really hate? One of the goons. Who? What?
Roussel?
Yes. Yeah. I do not like Antoine Roussel.
I don't blame you. I do not blame you. He is an absolute rat. Especially when he gets going. Oh, it's ridiculous.
He's always starting something, but he's like, he's a total plug. So I mean, it's whatever. It's frustrating when there's a guy who you hate who can also score on you. So
yeah. How are you? My last question: how are you enjoying the divisional way? this divisional thing? What are your thoughts on it? How are you enjoying it? Do you wish it's back to normal? What are your thoughts?
I think it's good.
I think it's fine for now. Ask me again in a couple months.
I'm okay with the. I'm more okay with the sort of baseball style scheduling than I am with the division format itself.
I think they should normally have the baseball style scheduling, but
do I really want to
that just makes sense to me. Why scatter it? I don't know.
I mean, do I really want to watch? From a neutral perspective, do I really want to watch Winnipeg play Ottawa 300 times this year? Not really. But I do kind of miss, playing Minnesota or St. Louis or Nashville.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, because there's some really fascinating rivalries there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the Jets don't have a traditional rival. It's kind of hard when you're the only team in Manitoba. There's no one really nearby. But yeah, I mean, you just kind of, I don't know. I mean, basically the only team that we really regularly play, or we used to regularly play that we regularly play now is Calgary and Edmonton.
Yeah.
And really,
even that those wouldn't.
Yeah, the only thing I really hate about Calgary is Matthew Tkachuk. So,
and rightfully so.
Right, Sean, what were you going to say?
I agree with the fact that I want to see them have these, even if it's just 2 games, have these back-to-back sort of baseball style series going at it. They may have to rejig the schedule and how weighted it is to make it happen, but I want to see it because how badly did we want to see another game between Calgary and Toronto after Muzzin flipped the puck at Tkachuk?
Yeah.
Come on, we wanted to see it. It's just, that's the type of stuff that can just make a middle of the season boring ass game. You're just going through the dregs of the middle of the season until the playoff hunt really starts. That's the stuff that will keep you watching. That's the stuff that will keep you engaged as a fan and watching other games. I want to see that going forwards.
I think it also prevents the NHL from doing NHL things and making really dumb road trip plans. I still remember the one year the Sharks had a series of games where they went at Dallas, at Minnesota, at Dallas, at Minnesota. I was like, what planet does that make any sense?
Yeah, just play 2 and then go to the next place.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's always, or my favorite is when they do a back-to-back.
Yeah,
it's they'll do, you have to play the Panthers and then you have a day off and then you do back-to-back with Tampa and the Capitals. And it's why not just do the back-to-back in Florida?
I thought you were going to complain about doing home and homes between Minnesota and Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
Because they do that, and it's why would you do that?
There's also the California thing where some teams always getting screwed over on when the teams do the California trip, because it's you either do back-to-back at Anaheim and LA and then you go to San Jose tired, or San Jose gets a team fresh and then the other 2 California teams get the tired teams. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the scheduling is absolutely fascinating. And even this, we've already kind of ranted on this, but why in the living hell do you have Ottawa and Winnipeg playing at 10 Eastern, 9 Manitoba time when you have what was it, Vancouver and Montreal that was 4:00 Pacific, 7:00 in Montreal, but that just made no sense. And then tonight, this is great for Vancouver. It's 7:00 Pacific, but it's 9:00 in Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's 9:00 Eastern.
Yeah.
That one makes more sense than the Ottawa-Winnipeg late game, but
barely.
Yeah. Well, only because you got Vancouver there. You've got the Pacific team in, but it's just I don't understand it.
Nope, my turn.
Okay.
Yeah, I was more mad at them putting the World Juniors at primetime local time when you don't have fans going to the game. And it's now it's starting 10 p.m. Eastern time. It makes sense for Edmonton, but you don't need to worry too much about the Edmonton local. It's the World Juniors. Put it at 8 p.m. Eastern time, which is still kind of late for us, but not really, and it can work for the other time zone. Like, that just annoyed me. Why? For what purpose are you putting it at local time? I don't know.
That's a great point.
Well, I was just saying, I feel bad for Vancouver because they're like the only Pacific time team, and they just travel just so much. I think that's going to be a problem for them.
Yeah,
I think Toronto's got the most travel in this for this year. I think someone did the math, and Toronto does have the most. So Vancouver's used to it. Like, we're Canucks fans, like the players playing there are used to it. It's just the way it is because you are so. Like, that's why I think a lot of people are happy about Seattle coming in. There's someone right there.
Hopefully everything with the board will be all right. But
well, then, and imagine that and then you do baseball style schedule with that too, Seattle, Vancouver. That's going to be fantastic for both cities. Yeah.
I need the Cascadia Cup to transfer over from the MLS to.
Yes.
Like, even then, it's more heated between Seattle and Portland than like Seattle and Vancouver. But that's just bad.
Before we go, we do have a few comments. Wanted to get through. Where is Northwest Noble? Another nickname. Tyler has 102 nicknames, I swear. But he will be back tomorrow. So don't worry. Maybe we should just have a picture of Tyler just in the corner when we don't have chips.
I'll create I'll create him the birdie one for him.
Yeah, Isha from the Hockey Podnet, Hockey Podnet,
the Soda Pod.
The Soda Pod. He's been on our show. Love the show. And he says this. Love that you ditched Zoom. Yes.
Ditching Zoom and going to this to StreamYard has been a great addition for us.
Yeah, great move for us. And Matthew Tkachuk is awesome, says Chad. So he disagrees with you. But Chad,
I never said that he's like bad or anything. He's an awesome player, but I just hate him.
Fair. So Chad, tell us what you guys are up to this year. Where can we find your podcasts? How do we follow you?
Yeah, well, we're still trying to figure things out. But so you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at GritPer60Pod. We're going to try to do something like bi-weekly, we think. Yeah. We're just trying to figure it out. But yeah, you can follow us there. We still do like a lot of Jets-related stuff because, I mean, that's pretty much where all of our followers are.
You said Twitter. So. Did you also say Instagram?
Yeah.
Twitter and Instagram, same handle.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. And thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. Sean, how do we follow you?
I am BeardyConnect03 on Twitter.
Devin?
BoardHouse09 on Twitter.
Heidi will be back tomorrow. Heidi Amazeballs. Schneid's, SCHNEIDZ. Mittens, Northwest Noble, Noble Nation, however many nicknames. TNOBLE, IMKEVOLE, podcast_hockey, Facebook.com, YouTube.com. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.